Well, hello. You know what? It looks a little dark. I'm sorry. Oh, that's a little better. Now, I am just to let you know what's going on. I am at Laura's house. She is out with a friend tonight, so I'm having what I traditionally call my lonely bachelor night, where I get bad Chinese food and watch a stupid movie that Laura would probably not want to watch. Usually something pretty violent, the way I like it, and have a few drinks and have a lonely night as I wait for her to come home. Well, actually, it's fine. This was also a great opportunity because I've been taking this class. Excuse me while I make a drink, and I highly recommend that you have one too. Um, I well, one of the things I noticed, I've been listening to my own lives, and a bad habit I have. I know this because I've had people tell me this: is I start something and then I don't finish it because I get sidetracked into something else, like I'm doing right now. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. So anyway, here's what's going on. I've been taking this 5 day course, uh, learning how to create ads for really just not just create but manage ads, and how to use Amazon advertising to boost book sales. And it's something that on the surface seems very hard. Oh, by the way, I'm making a drink. I'm making my favorite. Please excuse me because I'm a little bit of a candy boy and I'm making kind of a sweet drink. I'm making an old fashioned. I started off with this is a orange rind that I peeled, and I rubbed it. This glass here has ridges on the inside, so you can rub it against it. And really kind of activates that orange flavor. It makes. I mean, you can smell it already. So I put some of that in there. A little ice. I got everything here, so I don't have to get up to make a second one, because usually this is how I like to do them. Just like my father and my stepmother, and like Laura too. We like to have a couple drinks, not too many. Just maybe I like to have two whiskeys before my meal, and then I'll have some red wine with my meal. Here is a cherry with some cherry juice. Yes, I know I'm a candy boy. I admit it. I'm at peace with it. Bitters. This is black walnut bitters. It's absolutely delicious. Look that right there. Uh, and then I'm going to, yes, here comes the more sugar. This is simple syrup, and you can buy it in the store. But Laura and I figured out how to make it. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio of water and sugar. So like a cup of water and a cup of sugar, and you boil it until the sugar dissolves, and it creates just a sweetener that adds no other flavor other than just sweetness. And this is just a cheap whiskey. This is old time. It's made by the same company that makes um, uh, Buffalo Trace, which I'm a big fan of. But uh, Buffalo Trace is a little expensive. Not too expensive. And I usually get and a little bit of water here. I usually get and I just mix it up. You know, uh, I usually get Benchmark, because Benchmark is exactly Buffalo Trace, but it's just not aged as long. It's the exact same stuff. It comes from the same factory. It's just that Benchmark is only aged for 3 years, and I think Buffalo Trace is aged longer. So anyway, cheers. Here's to you. Good. So I won't make this too long. The reason why I wanted to talk to you is, I figured tonight was be a good night because usually I'm with Laura, and but I'm at her house. Came over here, and this is usually what I do when she does this, and then she just comes home. We still have like a late night. We're watching. We just finished the penultimate episode of Stranger Things uh, season 4. So we're gonna watch the final episode. We'll probably watch a little bit of that tonight before we go to bed, so we can have nightmares, and maybe pick up a little bit of it tomorrow. Tomorrow around noon, I'll probably go home and start my week. And I won't see Laura again until Wednesday. Usually she comes to my house on Wednesday night, and I make dinner, she stays the night, and we'll probably watch the rest of it then. All right, so I have been doing this course called, I forget what it's called. It's like the 5-day ad profit challenge, something like that. And I found it through Amazon, and I've decided that once a week I'm going to spend at least, like, start the timer. Don't do anything else. Don't look at Facebook. Don't do anything else. I'm going to study Amazon ads. And I decided that this is, if I'm going to spend any money anywhere, it's going to be on Amazon. And the reason being, I think I've said this before, but this might be the first time you ever watch these videos. And you don't have to go back and watch the other ones. I mean, these are like disposable episodes. So, like, I'm just going to kind of update you as I go through my process of writing books, publishing books, marketing books, and all my adventures. And maybe if you are an author yourself, you might pick up some things, either learn from my mistakes, or maybe some good advice that I'm learning. If you're a reader, you can. I'll always give you an update of where I am with my books. I eventually want to bring on other authors once I get. I think I'm going to get Streamyard, but I'm still kind of figuring out how I want to do that. But one of the things is you know, as an independent creator, and I s- I emphasize that because I think this works for whatever you're doing, whether you're a painter, or you're making movies, or you're comic. I listen to a lot of comic book creators on YouTube just because I think they're interesting people. Um, but one of the things they say is, social media is, you got to do a lot of work on social media. First of all, it's not work for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy, how you doing, Lloyd? I hope you had a good time on your vacation. And I enjoy sharing the things that I'm doing, and kind of bringing you along. And someone said on one of the social media marketing podcasts that I listened to um, that you don't have to be an expert. In fact, I think it's even better that I'm not. I'm not an expert book marketer. I am somebody who's learning how to do it, and learning with failures and successes, and so I'm taking you along on the ride. So, and hopefully, maybe some of you guys, if you're interested, you might want to pick up one of my books. And quick personal promotion in the notes or the description of this video is a link to my books if you want to go there and check out. I would suggest starting with Rampage on the River because it's a trilogy, although you can read any of those titles out of sequence, which be fine. Although there is kind of a big reveal that happens at the end of the second book, although it's probably a reveal that most people will see coming. Anyway, so I've been doing this course. It's really wonderful. Basically, when you wake up in the morning, they've sent you an email, and the email gives you a link to where you can read kind of like a blog post, and there's a video with it. And basically, the blog post and the video are the same thing. They're the same thing. And so what I've decided is, the way I learn is I need, like, a lot of exposure. Like, I need to hear things a couple times before it sinks in because I've got a thick skull. So I like to read the blog post first and get a kind of understanding, and then I listen to it, because usually what the guy does is he walks you through all the things that are in the blog post, but then he'll show you, like, he'll do a share screen, and he'll show you, like, all right, let's build an ad here, and this is how you do it. So it's really neat. And like, the first day we built category ads. And I will say this, that because I have been running ads now both in the US and the UK since basically for a year now. I started my US ads in May of 2021, and then I started in the UK that June, and I've been running them consistently. And this is what's really interesting. I didn't think I was doing that good of a job until I took this course and started understanding. I'm hoping that what I do, what I'm learning now, because I am learning and I'm doing things differently and understanding things better, way better. And Lloyd, or any of you, anybody watching, because I have Lloyd right now, but I've noticed that like the last videos, like after I post them, like over the week, I get more and more views. So I'm happy to share my knowledge right now. Maybe someday, but I don't think so because I decided I don't want to work for anybody anymore. I want to work for myself. So I don't want to share my creative with other people. I want to do my creative work for myself. I don't mind doing menial work or whatever I need to do to stay afloat, but I like, you know, I'm not going to give it away. Well, I'm going to give away this. I'm going to give away what I'm doing, but maybe someday I might get into like professional coaching of authors, like, how to publish through KDP, how to advertise, all that stuff. Maybe I don't know. But the first, I got to become an expert myself, and I feel like this: if I become an expert at this, then I'm not going to really need to dick around teaching, being a professional coach or an ad agency for someone else, because I am going to be writing books till I die. I am getting very close to finishing my fourth novel. And once I start, finish that, I have the net. I mean, first of all, the next one already, like I know exactly what I'm writing. The first five novels have always been kind of planned out. I've always, um, especially the novel I'm about to put out now. When I wrote, survival jobs are this is Lloyd, from Lloyd. Survival jobs are a must-have until books pay the bills. Same boat. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's no shame in that. And there's a lot of people that are under those same. There's always that same circumstances, and there's always like for example, there's a guy that I follow on Facebook, and really nice guy, Steve McKay, and he writes like medieval, uh, early dark ages medieval, historical fiction books out of Britain. And he'd been reading meters for, like, I can't remember how long he said he's been doing it, but for decades. And he just recently, like in the last few months, announced that he was quitting his job and writing full time. So, and his buddy Matthew Harvey, they have a podcast now called Rock Paper Swords. It's a good podcast. I suggest listening to it. And almost all these people, like even Bernard Cornwell, who's like one of my heroes, like one of my favorite. He's kind of like the Stephen King of historical fiction. He got to a point where he could quit his job. So all these people, Ben Kane used to be a veterinarian and was able to quit his job because of writing. So Kevin Ashman, who I read quite a bit, I remember him announcing it just in the last few years, quitting his job because he's writing full time. Uh, Lloyd Elmer Jr. says, I was listening to the second episode of the podcast until I saw you started a live vid. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Lloyd. Because I guess it's a good episode, by the way. I don't know about you, but I understand one out of every three words that Steve says, and that allows me to kind of figure out what he's saying out of context. But my God, he is literally like, well, no, I hate when people say this. He's virtually a Scottish cartoon character. Um, it's pretty thick. It's a thick accent that's thicker than what you see in the movies. This is a real Scot, and it's funny they work off well together because Matthew plays kind of the straight guy on it, and he's the one who kind of carries it. He's like the play-by-play guy where Steve is the color commentary. And I think it really works. I mean, you can tell these guys really like each other a lot. What's funny though, they said they never I mean, I know Britain is a big island. I do know that. But I thought after all these years they would have met each other once or twice. But anyway, good show. I'm glad you're listening to that, Lloyd. So I've been taking this class, and Lloyd, I suggest you do it too. But when you're ready. And I think you are because trust me, I'm probably more broke than you are. It's really it's kind of scary, and I'll help you if you whenever you want to do it. I'll help you get started. But you really don't spend a whole lot of money on ad. I mean, you can, but you make it back. And I'll get into that where there I was confused about how much I was actually making and how much the ads were actually working. And I had one of the moderators work it through with me today, and I was surprised. I'm like, wow, I was actually doing well already, but I also know that I was making some mistakes based on the course. So I'm interested to see how things change. I shut down all my ads, especially in the UK because the UK is really hot for me right now. I make I'm not kidding you. Last month, 85% of my royalties came from the UK. Right now, I'm sitting at about 85%. So my books do much better in the UK than they do in the US. I don't know why. Um, I have a couple theories, but what's funny is they say to people, master the US before you try to the UK because the US is a larger market. It's a much larger. I mean, the US is like 50 Englands. Like California is about the size and population of the UK. So but some reason I do well in the UK. I had to shut down my ads. Well, I shut down everything because I'm building ads in this course and I want to see how those do first before, and then I'll might, because I might redo all the ads in the UK. But my UK ads, I've been making a lot of money, but they've been running hot too. So I needed to cool those jets because I'm paying a lot of money to the UK, and I also get hit with fees because I have to pay in pounds because it's weird when you do the UK thing. It's a separate. It's Amazon, but it runs separately. So I have a UK Amazon ads account and I have a US one. And if I wanted to, I could do Australia and Canada, and maybe someday I will. I don't see myself doing great in Canada, although I have sold books in Canada. I don't see myself doing great in Australia, although I have sold books there. And maybe I would. I don't know. I don't know. And we'll get around to that eventually. So the course walks you through how to make basic ads that work. And what I like about it and what's confusing is like a lot of things, I get overwhelmed if there's too many choices. And so when you go to Amazon ads, they have all sorts of variables and choices that you can play with because, of course, one size doesn't fit all. And so there are different philosophies and different strategies in how you do it. And for someone who's just getting started, it's too much. It's too much. So this course takes you through like just here's some really basic things that pretty much work as long as you're not sell your book isn't a pile of shit smeared onto some paper um, with a cover that's drawn with a crayon when you're drunk with your left hand or something. Um, so the first day we made what were called category ads, and this is where I've done the best. I've run ads similar to this, although the course has taught me to do it a better way, where my books run as like war fiction, historical fiction, military historical fiction, African American historical fiction. My last one is because there's a lot in it about black troops, and I have some pretty strong black characters. Um, and then the next day we learned. It's funny because that was a little bit more complicated. And the next day we did what's called um, uh, automatic ads, where basically you just let you let the algorithm, you let the artificial intelligence do all the work. And what's interesting is um, that one is so far the only one that's showing impressions, and impressions that are just every time my ad shows up while somebody's searching. And the way ads work, just so you know, is that you set a per diem, like how much you're willing to pay a day, and they suggest $5 per ad, but you're not going to be spending $5 a day. It's just saying if your ad goes hot and everybody's clicking on it, then it'll stop once you hit $5. So it won't run away from you. And then what it is you set the bid, and they tell you set your bids for 39 cents. That doesn't mean when somebody, so anyway, you only pay if somebody clicks on your ad. And then if you have a lot of clicks but people aren't buying your book, then you might have to think about, is my cover right? Is my title right? Is my description right? And you can, that's a great indicator of like, oh, I need to do some work on this because I'm getting the clicks, but I'm not making the sale. So that's something they talk about. But so if you set your bid for 39 cents, okay, and let's say I set my bid for 39 cents for war fiction, and another ad is bidding 22 cents, okay. Um, I might win, and that's the only ad. That's the only other ad that's bidding at that time. And this is all AI. I'm not doing anything. I'm just passive. I just set it up and watch it go. So if someone bids 22 and I'm bidding 39, I'll win the bid, but I'll only pay 23 cents. See what I'm saying? So you're not going to pay. The only way I would ever pay 39 cents for a click is if the next highest bid was 38 cents. See how that works? So you're not going to pay 39 cents um, a for every click. And their system is they say it's you should set your bids for 39 cents if it's the first book of a series. And a lot of the people in this class are writing series. And series are very popular. Um, and but if it's a standalone book, they say 34. And the reason why 39 is because you're going to make money that you're never going to be able to attribute to that click. And that's what I'm going to talk about here in a minute. Because um, if somebody sees your ad, let's just say perfect scenario, somebody sees your ad, they see mail-in bill, and they click it, and you pay whatever, you pay 23 cents for that click, and they buy it. Okay. That will show under your ads dashboard. Okay, that you pay 23 cents, you got to click, and you got a sale, and it'll show you. And the sale is the gross. So like if you're selling your book for $2.99 on Kindle, and you made $2 in royalties off it, it won't show that. It'll show $2.99. So you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. Uh, but what you won't see is that with that click, you won't see that not only did that person buy Malinville, but they turned around and bought Malinville Part Two or whatever the sequel is called. And they also said, "I like this guy. I'm going to read the this. Please excuse me, Lloyd, because I know I can never remember things. The space between the spaces or something like that. They get that, and they get the fractured spaces. So what I'm saying is you can't attribute all the other income you're going to make off that initial click, because they're only going to attribute a sale if you make a sale on that click. And here's the other part of this, and we're going to get into this in a minute. But the other thing that it doesn't attribute is, let's say somebody's shopping for a book and they see your ad and like, oh, Malinville, this looks kind of interesting, and they click on it and like, oh, okay, yeah, and then they don't buy it, but they looked at it, right? But let's say they see your ad a couple more times, but they don't click on it, right? Maybe they've already put it in their basket, and they're looking at other things. Who knows? But the spaces between the spaces. Thank you very much. His book is called The Spaces Between the Spaces. Lloyd Elmore Jr. He's on Amazon. I recommend you checking out. At least go and check him out and read the description and see if you're interested in it. Not, but I recommend the book. I read it. All the stories are kind of mind-boggling, and Laura really liked them too. So what I'm saying is, and this is what they were teaching me, and it was kind of blowing my mind. And okay, so let's put that to the side, and let's talk about the ad. So the second day we did the automatic targeting ad, where you don't do anything. you write the copy, and they give you several different formulas of working on your copy. And I'm already cringing on like my second day copy because I've seen one of my ads now in the wild. And don't click on your own ads because you're gonna have to pay for every clicks. And by the way, do a favor to other authors. If you're interested in someone's book, don't click on anything that says sponsored, because every time you do, that person has to pay for it. So if you see something, type it up in the top, or sometimes you might see it in a place where it's not sponsored. Because otherwise, unless you're like, screw it, I'm going to buy this, and they'll gladly pay you that click. Um, so yesterday, and I got way behind because yesterday I had band practice. Um, Paul and I, right now, the band is just Paul and me. If you don't know this about me, I am a fiddler. I play old time fiddle, and I have a band called Inglewood Old Time String Band. And at our zenith, we had 5 people. We had me and my teacher, who, by the way, he won't say this, but I will say it. David Johnson was basically was an employee of Randy Travis, and he was his road fiddler for 27 years. He was basically a salaried employee where he was allowed to do whatever he wanted to do when they were on tour. And then, but when the tour manager called him and said, "Hey, we booked a tour in Japan. You're leaving tomorrow," he'd have to go. So it was me, David, and we had Paul, who's on banjo. We had Don, who on guitar. Don passed away, and we had a bass player too. The bass player quit because he got too busy with work. Don passed away. David got busy, and we tried another guitar player. It didn't work out. And then Paul and I realized that couple things. It was just easier to manage as a duo instead of a band. So we started working that way, and we really liked the sound because if you take the guitar out, it starts sounding less like bluegrass and sounds more like real mountain, eerie Appalachian kind of music. It sounds more authentic. So we really like it. People really like it. We get booked a lot. We have a wedding, or actually it's a renewal of vows coming up in August 20th. So we're working on it. And they asked us to play Moonlight in Vermont, which I'm very tickled about because my real passion is jazz. I used to be a bebop fan and modal and some of the more modern stuff, but as I'm getting older, I'm finding that I like more of the even older stuff. I like swing, not big band. I'm not a big band. Big band's too overproduced, but I like small ensemble swing, jazz, and blues between the wars, like the 20s and the 30s. In fact, I would be listening to Sidney Bechet, but if I did that while I was streaming, I'd get copyright struck, and that would, and I don't need to do that. So on Friday, I got really busy because, well, the course, then they had, uh, and Lloyd, I hope you do this next time. They come around, and I'll give you good warning that it's coming because they do it like I think every quarter or twice a year or something like that, and it's free. And all they're trying to do is some people do it for free, like for years, and then they finally sign up for their full service. And I'm not suggesting that yet, and I don't think I will do it. But and what's great is, but I wonder why do people keep coming back and doing the free thing? Because then it's the same thing over and over. But they say because it's constantly changing. So like there are new features, things are going away. The way you do it's different. The algorithm changes, and so they're constantly on it, and they're learning it. So it's worth your time to do it every time it comes up. Plus, just to refresh your skills. So they had a person on there. His name is their name because they're a they them, which please excuse me, don't cancel me, but I kind of roll my eyes at all that. But it turns out it's a gay guy, and who considers himself non-binary, which okay, fine, but he writes gay romance novels, and his story is, or their story. Okay, I'm not going to do that. It's whatever. His story is He was about to quit. He was like, I'm just not, it's not working out for me. He, of course, they're marketing to us, but apparently he got in with this company that's putting on this workshop. By the way, this is endorsed by Amazon, and Amazon wants you to win. So this isn't just like some, hucksters. This is like, I found this because I was on the Amazon site, and they're like, we got this free course, and the video promoting the course, the free course, was on hosted on Amazon. So Amazon says, yeah, these guys are legit. He was going to okay, I'll try to do it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a dick. They were going to quit, and they got into this course, and all of a sudden, I think they're saying that they make six figures a year. They make over $100,000 a year, uh, writing writing books. He's got a niche. He's writing gay romances. I don't think it's erotica. I think it's just straight up romance. Because I went and checked out his author's page, and he's got a lot of books. And I think that also has a lot to do with it too. Is that the more books you have, I've learned that myself. I've written three novels. I got five books altogether, and the books sell each other. So if somebody reads one of your book, and they like it, they're going to come back and read the other one. So the more books you have, the more money you're going to make. And I have been tracking my royalties, and they have been rising with each book I write. My monthly royalties, even on a slow month. My slow months now are like my big months when I first started. So it's it definitely accumulates. But they said, um, and their name is Quinn something, I can't remember. But they had him on, and I'm just gonna go back and forth because it's so hard for me to do this. Because I'm drinking. Um, he said it was only supposed to be like an hour and a half, but he was on. It was a Zoom call for like 2.5 hours. I couldn't stop listening to him. Fascinating, fascinating. I learned so many things. It was just so worthwhile. And I asked one question, he answered it, and that question, which a lot of people ask, is is it better to promote your first book or your latest book? And the answer is almost always like your latest book, maybe spend a month on it, but always, this is if you're writing a series, but you really want to focus on your first book because that is the entry. The one thing I'll say is that my first book, I think, is very good. And so does everybody, most people who've read it really like it a lot. But just like I would expect, it was my very first book. I am getting better. And I have had people tell me that each of my book is progressively better than the last. And I'll just say, I mean, I always say, if you don't think you're awesome, you're never gonna convince anybody else you're awesome. I think my last book, Blood for Blood at Nashville, is a masterpiece, and I think that the one I'm writing now, Next to My Love, is gonna be even better than that. I'm gonna rip your hearts out with that book. You're gonna read the last word, and then you're gonna close the book, and you're gonna stare at the wall for an hour because all the love and happiness will be drained out of your heart. Isn't that a great advertisement? But you can't wait to read that. But the reason why is because it's so full of joy through the whole book, but it's bringing you towards this terrible, this kind of foreseen, foreshadowed, um, tragic conclusion that the characters cannot escape. It's like a Greek tragedy, and I'm very open about it because it's the prequel to Rampage on the River. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Uh, so I got behind because his uh, question and answer thing went over by an hour, and then the regular guy who's running the workshop has a question and answer every day at 2 o'clock on Central Time, and so basically when the six-figure author got done talking, I had about a half hour to eat something, and then another hour, and then eventually I had to go to Laura's house, so I didn't get so I got behind. So today I basically did all the homework and all the actual work I was supposed to do on Friday, which is great because they even call it the weekends. catch up. The next day is going to be on Monday. Although they're having another successful author talk to us at 2 o'clock on Sunday, in which I'm going to be sitting in on that as well. But what we learned today, first of all, we're learning more about ad copy, because when you make an ad, you get 149 characters, and so you really want to have something. You can't put everything in there, so you have to really just focus on what is important, what is going to get people's attention, what is going to make people click. So we've been working on that. Uh, and then we made what's called keyword ads. And these are really, I found these kind of intimidating. I've listened to other people talk about them. I've watched other videos. There's another guy called Kindlepreneur who I like a lot as well. He's kind of their competitor. By the way, they've mentioned him a couple times and gave him kudos. So I like seeing that, honor amongst enemies. His name's Dave Chisholm, very handsome guy, very handsome guy. And he writes a lot of Space Marine kind of stuff. But basically, you come up. They had this system where, like, they want you to do at least 100 words. So sit down, think about your book, and write down every single search word that somebody would come up with uh, if they were looking for your book. And Civil War, Confederacy, Union, Yankee, musket, black powder, everything I can think of, cavalry. Um, and then when you finally run out of things to write down, then you go to, like, it's better to do this in incognito. You go to Amazon and start typing those words in and see what pops up, because there's that autofill thing. So you write down Civil War, and then it'll have all these suggestions like Civil War historical fiction. Okay, that's a good one. And so you start adding those terms in, and then when you run out of those, there's this software that you can download and attach it to your Chrome. That when you go to your book and you see, you have to do it, because if it's your account, it won't show it to you. But if you're someone else looking at your book, it'll show people who bought this also bought this, and you can click on it and it'll download all this information, and then you can pull all those book titles and authors and also put those as keywords. And then just think about famous popular authors who are writing your same genre. So, like, Bernard Cornwell, almost everybody, even the people that I admire and look up to, Bernard Cornwell. He's like the top of the mountain. And if you don't know who he is, he's if you've seen the Last Kingdom on one of the streaming services, I think it's on Netflix. He's the guy who wrote that series. And I'll tell you this, they do okay. I don't like the I'm a little disappointed with the some people really love it, but I'm disappointed with the show, because I've read the series, and they start deviating. They always screw it up when they make the film version. I'm gonna make my second drink. Please excuse me that I do drink, and hopefully I won't get too incoherent as I do this. Actually, a little water in there actually helps. So I did that, and then it also, when you make that ad, you put in those words that you have, and I was still under 100. But then Amazon also generates its own suggested words. Not all of them are great, but some of them are like, yeah, this is good, this is good. And then you also want to make sure that you take out things that aren't relevant, because relevancy is very important in this. And so, like, for example, I'm writing Civil War novels, okay, and so you don't want, like, I do a lot of book talks, and sometimes I go, and even though all the historical aspects of my books are true, and well researched and all that, and I take great pains to do so, they there are people who Civil War buffs who, like, they won't read fiction. They're like, no, I'm only going to read actual, real nonfiction books. So you don't want your ads showing up to those people, because they'll click on the ad and then they're like, oh wait, this is. So you want to make sure that you are advertising to the right people, because if people are clicking and but they're not going to buy your book, and you're going to pay up to 39 cents for somebody who's never going to buy it in the first place. So why bother, right? Um, so we did that today. What am I missing this? Problem with my drink is that it's too complicated, and the more I drink them, the harder they are to make. Although if I were a man, I'd just be drinking whiskey on the rocks, and not tight. Whiskey on the rocks is straight. Whiskey tight is just in a little glass. But they say actually you need to add a little water. Whiskey's like concentrated, so it's like concentrated orange orange. You remember the concentrated orange juice you got? It was frozen. You had mixed water. That's what whiskey is. You're not supposed to just drink it neat. I mean, I guess if it's like $1,000, aged for 40 year in an oak barrel whiskey, okay, maybe. But even a little bit, even those guys will put like a drop or two of water to open it up. It'll open up the flavors. So, but this is shit cheap whiskey, so who cares? So I got that done, and all right, so that was that ad, and we did the key words ads, and I did one before, and some of the things worked. Oh yeah, I'll, I finished it up with like picking well-known, like Shelby Foote, well-known Civil War novelists that I could kind of piggyback. I should have put Robert Hicks on there too. Robert Hicks is very New York Times bestseller. Although I'll say it every time I bring it up, New York Times best-selling list is an absolute scam. Basically, you can trick the system. It goes by, like, if you have a surge in sales, you can pop onto that list, even if it is for a couple hours, and then pop off. And once you've done that, you're a New York Times best-selling author forever. So I'll give you an example. And please excuse me. I I vote, I care, but I'm not political in that I want to change your mind so that you think the way I think. That's just not me. You're never going to get that from me. I'm going to vote. If you back me in a corner, I might debate a little bit, but I really don't like to unless we're really good friends and we're going to be friends afterwards. Okay, but the Donald Trump Jr. And actually, I think it's probably a pretty funny book, but it was some kind of book making fun of liberals or something like that. And what they did is he published it, and then the RNC went out and bought tens of thousands of copies of it, which gave it a surge in sales that put him on the New York Times bestseller list. And then what they did is that everybody who donates gets a free signed book. See how it works? So now Donald Trump Jr. is a New York Times best-selling author. And that's just one anecdote, but all sorts of people. There's a kind of there are people who run pyramid schemes. Like they say, you want to be a best-selling author, uh, uh, give us a short story, pay us $5,000 or whatever it is. What they do is they put together a compilation book full of all these aspiring authors with their short stories who've all paid like $5,000 or whatever. And then once they got all their money, they put the book out, they buy it back. They buy back like 10,000 copies. And bam, that book pops up on the New York Times 100 bestsellers for that moment. And now every author on that book can now put New York Times bestselling author. So I'm not saying there are some people that are on there and they deserve it, and maybe even Donald Trump Jr. Deserves it. I don't know. I haven't read his book, but but there's a lot of people are on there because they're playing shenanigans. So take that with a grain of salt when you buy New York Times. And I am digressing a little bit here because I do that, and I listen to these, and I'm working on myself. I'm constantly. I'm never going to be perfect, man. But I'm always going to be trying until the day I die. I hope I learn something the day I die. Like, huh? I never knew that. um, uh, Shoot, I forgot what I was saying. See, now this is why you're not supposed to do live streams when you're drinking. Um, so let's move on. The other thing that I learned from this course, and this really blew my mind. Like they have, I forgot what they call it. It's ACOS, and what it is basically your your sales compared to what you're spending in your ad spend. And I think it's sales divided by ad spend. And so if your ACOS is at, or they call it ACOS, is at 100%, that means every dollar you spend on advertising, you're making a dollar. Okay. Which you're breaking even. So they say, well, what you want is under 100%. Because if you're under 100%, if you're at 50%, that means every dollar you put in, if I can do the math correctly, I was a liberal arts major in college. Every dollar you put in, you're making a dollar. Some of my ACOSs were over 1,000%. That means for every $10 I was spending on advertising, you're making a dollar. But and that would make you think, and when I started the course, they said, what's your goal? And I said, well, my goal is I want to make more than I put in. And what they're saying is you can't trust those numbers. That is not an indication of what you're making. And case in point, the guy who's running it said that he had a book and he was making money. He was making good money. But his ACOS, his ACOS was like over 1,000%. And so you look at that, you're like, I'm losing money on this ad. He shut it down. And what happened? His sales plummeted. Sales plummeted because it only attributes a sale if somebody clicks on your ad and then immediately buys it when they click on it. But people rarely ever shop that way. They might look at it several times. So the very first time they look at your book, it's because they clicked on the ad, right? But then they might not buy it. They might think, though, that looks pretty good. I might get that when I'm finished with the one I'm reading now or whatever. And so when they go back, they're not going to click on the sponsored ad again. They know what the book is. Maybe they put it in their shopping list or whatever, and they go back and they buy it. And so you're not seeing that attribution. And so you have to remember that. So what they are saying is what you really need to look at so far in this very like fledgling beginning stage is you need to look at how much you're spending and how many clicks you're getting. That's the only, and then see basically what you're paying for clicks. And it turned out that I was paying about 34 cents per click in the US and about 19 pence per click in the UK. And they also say, don't look at that. Look at the period in which you were running the ad and look at your revenue. Now, for me, I have to go into so you have two separate dashboards. You have your ads dashboard, which is separate. And then you also have your sales dashboard. Your KDP dashboard will tell you like your sales, your Kindle unlimited reads, all those kind of things like that, and your royalties. So if you've been running an ad from July, or let's say you were running an ad let's say you've been running an ad all year long. That'll make it really easy. So if you've been running an ad since January 1st up until today, which I think is the 16th, you could go to your sales page and make sure you deselect all the other countries because I sell in multiple countries. So but I'm only advertising in the US and UK. So if I look at, so I deselect everything but US. So I look at what are my what are my royalties in the US and how much have I spent? And then on this other page, I look at how much have I spent in ad in the U.S. And what it turns out is that for every dollar I spent um, in the U.S. for ads, I was making $10. And in the UK, for every pound I was spending in the UK, I was making £2. So I'm not doing the margin isn't as great in the UK. But the things I'm learning in this class and I'm seeing some of the mistakes I made, and that's why I shut down all my ads because I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to do this. So probably after I'm done with this class and see some of the results I'm getting from the ads I made in the U.S., I will go back to the UK because I did have to shut it down because I was spending a lot of money there, even though I'm making a lot of money there too. But I'll probably go back in and make some new ads there. And the other thing is too is that I made ads and just let them run because some people will tell, and I'll tell you this right now. If you go and you look at this and you want to study it and you want to understand how it works, you're going to get many different opinions, and people are going to tell you there's going to be contradictory things. Dave Chisholm might tell you something completely different than what these guys are telling you. And I always say this: the problem with humanity, problem with the world, society. Let's just take like politics. The problem is that fundamentally everybody is right. They are. You can find truth in everybody's argument. Fundamentally, everybody's wrong at the same time, and so that's what makes it very confusing. But shoot, I forgot where I was going with this. Anyway, uh, I was told to, I remember now, I was told to just don't put an end date, just let it run, just let it run. What they're saying with this course is that no, you want to put like make your, I'm not quite sure. They haven't really quite because we haven't gotten the end of the course, but they had us make our ads end at the end of the month. They're probably saying you need to make fresh ads each month, and it's because you're dealing with an algorithm, you're dealing with AI, you're not dealing with human beings, right? And so if you have a no end date, then the algorithm, the artificial intelligence is in no hurry to spend your money. And remember, when you spend money, theoretically, you're going to make money. That's how advertising works if you do it well, if you do it right. So, so if you have no end date, then it's kind of like whatever. But if you have an end date for your campaign, uh, it might give it some urgency. Say, okay, we got to get this guy's ad out there because once again, Amazon wants you to succeed. They don't. They're not getting rich off of making you a sucker and taking your advertising money. They want you to succeed because the more you succeed as an author, the more they succeed. If they find good independent authors, um, they're going to make money off of you, and you're going to make money too. It's a great uh, what do you call it? Relationship, a symbiotic relationship. They're not going to steer you wrong. So I think what they're saying is run lots of ads. Just keep the dailies down so that you don't get overwhelmed. And refresh your ads by starting new ones, even if they're exactly the same. But I think also you learn, so you might adjust as things go. And it's very interesting. And I mean, they have testimonials, and I don't know how much of it's true, but they got people who they say are making six, even seven figures a month. Now, a lot of these people have multiple books. But they also say, somebody asked, how many books do you really need to, they said, we have people who have one book and they do really well. We have people who have multiple books and they do really well. I think ultimately, the more books you have, the more money you're going to make. I've heard that that's kind of a common wisdom I've heard from a lot of people. So keep writing, keep marketing. And that's the thing. You got to remember this. Okay. Everybody's dream, and it really is a lottery, is that they get picked up by a big, they call the big five. And I don't even know who they are, but the big five publishers who's going to pick up your book. They're going to pay you up front. They're going to pay you more. You're going to be a millionaire. They're going to make movies. You don't have to do anything. You just write. Man, you don't even have to edit. You just write and send your garbage off to their editor, who's going to fix everything, and their marketing team's going to figure out what the best possible, all these things. I really don't think that's a viable business model anymore. And interesting. Okay. So these aren't the con artists that are running this workshop. These are other authors that I have heard talking in the Zoom calls and things like that, who got signed by publishers, who got publishing deals, who cannot wait for their publishing contract to be up so they can buy back the rights to their intellectual property so they can sell it themselves. A lot of people end up in that situation. And that traditional 20 years ago, independent self-published people, there was a stigma. In fact, sometimes publishers didn't want to even talk to you. There are so many examples of the woman who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, self-published. The guy who wrote The Martian, they made a movie with was it Matt Damon in it or something like that? Self-published. The list goes on. How to Train Your Dragon, self-published. All these things. So people do this now. They're one in a, I don't know, 1,000, 100,000, who knows? But there are people who also pull a decent living off of self-publishing. So you can do it. I actually think that it's now, to me, it seems more risky going with a publisher, because when you go to a publisher, everybody's got to make their money. So your agent's got to make their money. They got to make their money. And so you got to sell a lot of books before you make your money. So if you're savvy, you can do it. And I guess all this, what I'm saying is that if you're going to be an independent author like me, and I'll tell you, if a big publisher came up with a sweetheart deal, I'd take it. Yeah, absolutely. But until that day, I'm not going to go with some little rinky-dink publisher, because I'm probably going to do a better job by myself. So either a sweet deal or nothing, because I'm doing fine, and I'm going to do even finer. See that? I'm a writer. I like that grammar. But if you're going to be an independent author, you have to be an independent marketer too. And someone asked about, there are companies out there that will do all the marketing for you, but remember, they got to make their money too. So, and someone asked, so because there are companies that say, we will handle it, we will make your Amazon ads for you, we'll do all that. But remember, you got to make so much money that it's going to pay for them and still make you money. And so all I'm saying is, if you're going to be an independent author, you got to be an independent author. That means you have to be your own marketing department. You got to wear a lot of hats. It helps to have a personality. And the thing is that with a lot of writers, they're introverts. I'm one. People say, well, why aren't you going out with your friends? Well, I do have friends. But thankfully, all of them live way too far away, so that I never have to see them. Because I'd rather hide in my own house than go anywhere. I do have the gift of gab. This live is going on. We're going to hit an hour. I did not mean to do that, but I can talk. I'm not saying you need to be like me. I have certain skills. I was a television reporter, so I could do live shots, and so I don't know if I was trained. It was more like predisposed to be able to do that. But what I'm saying is, whatever it is, however it is that you do it, if you are an author, you cannot just be a complete introvert. You never talk to. You have to have a marketing mind. You have to think marketing. You have to, however you do it. It may not be the way I do it, but you have to be able to talk to people, to interact with your readers. I think that's just in general, to tell you the truth. I mean, you just can't live in your castle and spit out a book every year and just expect them to line up for it. So anyway, I think I'm going to call for that. This is a little extra one because I'm having what I call my lonely bachelor night. I'm going to have some Chinese food now, and I'm going to watch. What is the thing? Let's see if we can pull it up here. You won't be able to see it because I can't pull up so you can see it. But I'm going to watch, yeah, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, 1974. I love these movies when I was a kid, like the Sinbad movies and the claymation, and I just love action adventure. And I really loved the movies of like the 50s and the 60s, that the big colossal Roman movies and sword and sandal kind of stuff. So I'm gonna watch that. Um, Eat my Chinese food, and so that's it for this. So I always want to do this. So the update on me is that I I'm at 106,000 words on Mexico, My Love. I just finished, I believe, chapter 33, and I started chapter 34. I did a little bit of writing on Thursday, none on Friday, a little bit today. I'm going to get back on the horse. I would like to have this finished by the end of August. I am definitely in the final stretch. I know everything that happens. I just got to make it happen in a compelling way. I really like the book. I think if you like my writing and you just like good action, adventure, and romance, this is a romance novel. I think you're going to really like it. If you like me, if you like my books, if you think that each book that I've written so far is better than the last one, you will love this book. I love it. So that's where I am with that. And what else I want to say? I don't have any writing. The only thing I have is, let me see if I can get the date here. I am doing in August. I have a good relationship with the August 27th, the day after my sister's birthday. Um, August 27th, I am going to be, Paul and I are going to be playing in Springfield at the Frank and Jesse James Day. Frank and Jesse James robbed the bank in Springfield. I don't know what year it was, but so they do this reenactment, and this is put on by the Robertson County Museum, Robertson County History Museum, downtown Springfield. My good friend Danny Ashley runs that. He's a wonderful friend. They carry my books in the gift shop. I have signed copies of all three of my novels there. Last year, he gave me a booth. Now I'm not asking for it, but I will accept it if he gives it to me again. It was great. I sold a ton of books, and then we played music for the thing. So I told Paul, because Paul usually, sometimes Danny talks to me, sometimes he talks to Paul. Paul and I are pretty much equal partners in our band now. But I'll be out there playing fiddle, and come and see us. And even if I don't have a booth, you can still go into the bookshop or the gift shop and buy my books. That is it. I don't think I have any. I might have a talk down in Memphis or Mississippi, somewhere. It just depends on my schedule. I have a new study that I'm going to be doing with RTI. I work for a company called RTI where I do research. I do short contract, part time work for them, and it's enough to pay my bills and and help me. And actually, I kind of enjoy the work and believe what I'm doing. We have a new study coming up. I start training next week actually for it, and so I don't know what my schedule is going to be like. So if my schedule allows it, I might do another um, the American Civil War through fiddle tunes. I think in Memphis, but once I have that nailed down, I'll let you guys know. And that's it. Lloyd, it shows me that I still have somebody watching. So you're a loyal friend, man, and I really do. It's not just the whiskey talking. I really do value your friendship, and I'm rooting for you. I was telling Laura, I said, the funny thing is, wouldn't it be funny if like Lloyd becomes this like mega uh, successful author, and and I just, say this meddling thing, and I'm like, Lloyd, hey, can you help me out? Because I know you're super rich and successful. And Lloyd's like, well, we just opened up. Thank you. We just opened up Malinville in Orlando. We built a Malinville. It's and if I do, thank you very much. We're, uh, we're gonna have, it's between Disneyland and or Disney World and Universal, but the kids really want to go to Malinville, so we're going to Malinville this year. We need a guy to help sweep up the peanut shells. So maybe Lloyd will let me go and sweep the peanut shells at Malinville. All the kids are all riding the Malinville rides for that but anyway, I hope so, man. I hope so. I wanna be a janitor at Malinville. Anyway, Lloyd, good night to you. Good night to everybody. And if you're watching this later on, I don't have a set time where I'm going to do this, but I'm going to keep doing this. Eventually, when I figure it out, we're going to bring Lloyd on. We're going to talk about his books, and I hope to bring some other people on too. So, if you're a writer, keep writing. If you're a dreamer, keep dreaming. If you're a reader, keep reading. I know two authors that I could recommend: Lloyd Elmore Jr. and CodyCEngdahl. So have a good night, everybody. And I'm going to try to end this stream where it isn't like night. Back to writing. Yeah, get to work, Lloyd.